So here we're going to look at the inside function of the square root being this parabola. So here's my parabola. And when I do a square root transformation on the outside of it, so it's going to look like this. The square root function goes on the outside of the parabola. What's going to happen is the output of this, any negative parts of this, is going to be deleted. Basically, we cannot square root any negative numbers. So anything negative that comes out of here doesn't work. So all this from -3 to the left, +3 to the right, will not work inside the square root. Okay, so there's my square root function, and as I apply the square root transformation on top of it, okay, we're going to end up with this semicircle function. So notice that all the y coordinates get bent down onto this circle. Okay, and then we don't have any parts on the outside of that domain. So if I get rid of that parabola, all we're left with is this semicircle here. Okay, so the square root basically is going to get rid of the negative parts, and it's going to bend down the positive parts. Okay, in this case, since the vertex is up here, it's going to bend it down to its square root value. So it's 9 to the square root 9, which is 3. So we can play around with this. The links are on the notes, but you can play around with this and see how the square root will affect different graphs. So I can put another one in here, right? I can get rid of this, and I can go, x plus 3. Okay, so there's my square root function. There's my linear function. Okay, and as the linear function from here left, it's going to disappear because it's negative. I cannot square root a negative. And as I apply the square root on top of that, okay, you can see that it gets bent down. Okay, it gets bent down towards the x-axis. So all these y values get square rooted and gets bent down. Notice that there's a little, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Notice that there is a part of the function which the square root actually gets bigger than the original function. So any y values between 0 and 1, when we square root them, they actually get bigger. Okay, so they actually bump up first, and then at 1, the square root of 1 is 1, so this is a invariant point right here. And then anything bigger than 1 gets bent down to the blue line. Okay, these bits here in between 0 and 1 actually bump up because when you square root decimal values, it's going to actually get bigger.